again. Time now to look at the morning papers. Afia Hagen and Thomas Copeland join us to pick through some stories. Afia and Thomas, hello again to you. Right, the only story really, isn't it? Thomas, this morning, talk us through the Daily Mail's front page. There we go, Red Wall backlash at Tory traitors.
Yes, well, they say there are 5 stages of grief. One of the inevitable steps in any regicide is going to be regret. The Daily Mail's been laying some of that on today and in the last couple of days. A tone very much drawn from the book of Luke, I think. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They've been speaking to some Red Wall Tory Conservative voters who are furious, apparently, at Tory backbench MPs for stabbing Boris Johnson in the back. Loyal voters who changed from the Labour Party in the 2019 election to the Conservatives. Now, the polling has shown a definite dip in support for Boris Johnson in those areas specifically. I mean, if you look at the recent by-election at Wakefield, for example, up in Yorkshire, changed hands back again from the Conservative MP to a Labour MP. But certainly, I mean, Boris Johnson did something really significant in 2019, managing to draw together that coalition at the time of former and traditional Conservative seats in the south of England with those new, formerly Labour seats in the northeast of England. That had the potential to be a moment of real and fundamental change in British politics. So it doesn't really surprise me that the Daily Mail is tapping into something that I think will become a bit of an undercurrent perhaps over the coming leadership campaign within the Conservative Party, which is, what have we done? There will be speculation as to whether Boris Johnson might have been able to come through this if he can be given more time. He did something truly extraordinary. He's a proven election winner in London and then again at a national general election. Certainly, once you get through this leadership campaign and all the people whose candidates that they backed don't win, so half the party who end up not liking the candidate that is chosen, there will no doubt be some elements of saying, oh, quite what have we done? Now, the extent of that, I suppose, will be debatable. So much opprobrium towards Boris Johnson within the backbenches of the Conservative Party over the last number of weeks. But certainly I think what will be palpable is a sense of a huge political moment in the country in terms of that 2019 general election. Could have had the impact comparable really to that of Thatcher. Seems slightly wasted now, as your challenge for the new Conservative Prime Minister will be, is it even possible to build that coalition to maintain that into the next general election? So it'll be interesting to see if you start to see that those undertones of regret coming in over the next couple of weeks and months.
Afia, what do you think? Do you think he still does have his supporters who are basically just waiting to see who he backs?
Oh, absolutely. I think definitely in those Red Wall territories, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who still back Boris and still feel that. In fact, his ousting is a very London-centric thing, that the outrage over Partygate and the way that he handled the Westminster incident is very London-centric. It's sort of whipped up by mainstream media, and I think there's a lot of people that feel that despite the fact he makes these gaffes, he makes mistakes, he tells lies, and perhaps he has been fined by the police, they voted for Boris Johnson knowing that he had the potential to do all of these things. And in fact, what they voted for was someone who could deliver Brexit, someone who would be strong as the country was in a wartime footing like he has been with Ukraine, someone who would be tough on immigration. And there's a lot of people who are still holding on to that view and that image of Boris Johnson and who are angry with backbenchers that basically quit, left the government, wide open without any, people in the education department, for instance, completely just deserted Boris Johnson, deserted the government. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are very angry about that and still feel that Boris Johnson is the best person to lead the country. So I also think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to see who he backs, and if he backs someone particular, he says this is a person who I think should be the leader, then they will back that person also. So it's almost like, it's getting Boris Johnson 2.0. What we really need, if we want real change, is someone who's quite removed from Boris Johnson, who perhaps wasn't in the cabinet, who's a bit of an outlier for there to be real change, or else you're going to get Boris Johnson 2.0. But I think actually that's what a lot of people want.
Thomas, just briefly, because I want to move on from this, you look bemused. Do you agree with that or not?
No, I think I just look permanently bemused. You know, I agree with some of what Afro has said there. I think that question of, I think it's really interesting, of all the things that could bring Boris Johnson down, it was actually a question of a very common story, which is the way in which Westminster and authorities and the government have dealt with misconduct allegations on MPs, and extraordinary in some ways that it is that brought down the government. Because I suppose if you go out to a lot of people who maybe don't follow politics in the same way that some of us do, that sense of scandal within Number 10 was such a broad and overarching trend that they probably wouldn't even attribute it to this particular incident to do with Chris Pincher that ultimately brought Boris Johnson down. So it'll be interesting to see over the next number. I'm not as convinced, I think, maybe as Afro, of Boris Johnson's influence. Maybe will he endorse a new candidate who comes in? You've got sort of echoes there of the influence that you see of Donald Trump, for example, and I'm not making a comparison between the two politicians, but in terms of that ongoing influence afterwards, it will be interesting to see if there is a Johnson legacy. What is that legacy, and will it be something that has an ongoing influence on the direction of the Conservative Party in the future?
Okay, let's look at a different story now, and this is on the front of the Daily Mirror. Afia, who was Father Dermot?
Yeah, so this is Father Dermot Donnelly, 55 years old. He was the older brother of TV presenter Declan Donnelly of Ant and Dec. He was a Catholic priest for 30 years at St Joseph's Church in Stanley in County Durham, and unfortunately he died after collapsing on Thursday night. It's thought he had a bleed on the brain, and he died yesterday afternoon. And TV star Declan Donnelly, one half of Ant and Dec, he tweeted saying, "I'm heartbroken to tell you that my darling brother, Father Dermot, sadly passed away this afternoon. We are all beyond devastated. Thank you for your messages of sympathy and support." Now, Father Dermot was really well known for doing lots of youth work in his diocese and at a national level as well. And that's something that he actually brought his little brother Declan into to help him support on his youth work. Of course, having a TV star brother helped him really bridge the gap between himself, the church, and the young people who he was ministering to and helping. So a real loss not only for Declan Donnelly and of course the immediate family, but for his diocese and for the church at large as well.
Thomas, let's lighten the mood a bit, shall we? FT, what is this about Whisky going for £16 million?
Well, that's right. I'm not sure what drinks you get on a night out, but I shall be avoiding whatever whiskey this Asian collector has purchased for £16 million. Funny enough, I was on Sky back in April when the previous record was set at £1 million, and I was expressing my disbelief that anybody would pay this much. It's a cask from a distillery, Ardbeg, on the Scottish island of Islay.
It'll be split up. Thomas. Talk quickly.
88 bottles, £36,000 a pop. But I think I'll be sticking to the house wine if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, especially if I'm buying. Okay, Afia and Thomas, thank you so much. See you next hour. Still to come on Sky News Breakfast, we're going to be taking another look at the runners and riders hoping to replace Boris Johnson. We're going to be speaking